much for the first part of the kirtan. So we always try to have some wisdom during our events. So I wanna like to invite as he told me that he's been practicing Bhakti yoga for a long time and is here today to share a little bit with us.
While you're getting set up, we can hear. This it's not at least you can hear it.
Would like to use this one?
Yeah, either one.
So hello everyone, I go by Chax as a short form, so you can just call me Chax. When I came to this country, my manager had difficulties. For a practitioner, I also run a startup, and I have a family. So we're all doing many things in our lives. The Bhakti Yoga is kind of the basis on which I'm able to align everything else and operate in a smooth fashion. So I'm sure let's. So today what we're going to cover, the slides will come up very soon. A very well-known topic. It's a word that all of us have heard, whether you are from India or not. The word karma. Anybody here that hasn't heard the word karma? Yeah, I didn't think so. It's part of the English vocabulary now. So let's, while we're waiting, anybody can volunteer to explain what they think karma is. No correct, right, wrong answers. So it's just what you know. So that today, my hope is that as we explore this topic, a lot of misconceptions probably will be cleared. It becomes very practical for us to understand, what we are right now going through and how we can get out of the miseries that we are facing. So, but anyway, let's start with anybody volunteering to answer what they think karma is.
Consequence of our actions.
Very good. Consequence of our actions. Any other points?
Energy that we put out is the energy that comes back.
Whatever you put there comes back. Yeah. Anything else? Yes.
Good and bad karma.
Good and bad karma. That's a very important point too. We'll talk about that too. Yeah. You have some ideas?
That makes sense so far.
See? I need my own cue. Okay, no problem. So, that's a beautiful picture. Everything in this picture, in the slides, are AI generated. So, it's a pinch for everybody, including spiritual people, to use AI. So as you can see here, we're like any the person, right? In this world, there's beautiful things, there's challenging things. We need to figure out what we need to process, what we need to act upon, what we need to ignore. It's a challenge, right? If only this obvious, well-defined cookie-cutter plan, everybody would be happy. We wouldn't be here. So, let's go through. I think some of you have said, you know, what you throw there comes back. It's very clear, right? Like you can't put an apple seed and ask for an orange, and vice versa. So that's the principle of this world. What you put is what you get. So we're all on the same page? Because this baseline premise is what the karma whole we don't see the immediate reactions. So, right, as you sow, so shall you reap. Most of the times, I think you brought up the point, karma means there is a negative connotation. Like generally people use karma for like, oh, it's my karma. Because I'm going through a difficult phase and then it's my karma. Karma, but we don't use it. So don't think karma means only negative. Whatever you are going through, both good and bad. Right? So it's a cause and effect. So we did something, we planted a seed last year, we watered it, grown enough, maybe next year it will start giving fruits. But it's what we planted before that's coming back. But you can see that even in a plant, but only thing is there we have seen with our eyes. So we planted the seed and then we waited for some time and then the results are starting to come out. Unfortunately, for most of our actions, we do not see the connection. And that's what complicates our life. How many of you have studied physics? Right? This is a common topic, even if you have studied high school, you would have covered this. What does it say? There's equal and opposite reaction. Okay? Now, this is the same principle. Newton just found out in a physical dimension the same principle of karma. You see two solid spheres. Like if you play one of those billiards, snooker, that kind of game. What's the principle? You have equal weight taking it on, and so there is equal and opposite reaction. The energy gets transferred to the other side. Right? So now, this is immediate. We can immediately, like I push this laptop, it's immediately moving. So there's immediate reaction. I did an action, there's an immediate reaction. Very easy to relate to. Now let's see how, as we go into the subtler dimension, but there's subtler layers. As we go into the next level, let's say if I replace those solid spheres with spheres liquid. Now if you hit two liquid spheres or liquid balls, what will happen? There's a slight and then the reaction comes. You understand what I'm saying? So it's not the moment the impact happens, there is a slight delay to the reaction. The reaction is being processed and then comes up. Now you take the same thing to more gases filled with. You can imagine it's even slower. And according to the scriptures, not just these three dimensions or three layers of subtlety. There is actually 8 layers of subtlety. Have you guys heard of this? Earthly means solid. Earth doesn't mean like only what you see in the garden. Earth. Anything that's solid is earthly. All solid elements form earth. Because we are operating with the mind as the center in this world. So when I have a thought and I put it there, it's a very subtle thing. It can take a long time for the reaction to come. And you keep going up and up. And that's the challenge for all of us. So if we understand this principle, that we are subtler beings, actually the soul, what we think about, the essence of us, the life energy, the identity of ours, is actually not any of these things. These are all layers around our actual existence. It's a whole new dimension of understanding. Actually always will spoke. Always eternally happy. And is full of knowledge. There is nothing else it needs to see. But the problem is we are encaged in these 8 layers. And each layer apparently is 10 times thicker. This is all subtler dimension. It's not a physical thing that you can see. Right? Now I'm going to switch to another dimension. So now we understood that our actions. So that's what we call all accumulated karma from the past. Even if you don't believe past lives, even in this lifetime, it's a karma, means actions that we have done, since childhood, since the beginning of our that the body that we live in, the mind that the body that we live in, the mind that we live in, everything is temporary. In the mind that we live in, everything is temporary in this body. But the identity that we talked about, the true identity of ours, the soul. Okay? Everybody following so far? So that's what we call the prarabdha karma. So don't worry about the technical terms, but that's the technical term. So think of that as like the beginning karma. No matter what, you have to experience that in this lifetime, unfortunately. But we don't stop right there. As we are experiencing that karma, we have a choice of how to react. So we again create new karma. Right? Makes sense? So that's the third bucket. That is kriyaman. Kriyaman means active, doing. So as you are doing your actions from the reaction, you are responding to the reactions from the past. If you don't react in the right way, you are actually adding more to the bag. This bank balance that you have been accruing, it's checking and savings. The two accounts. Unfortunately, these two accounts are independently maintained, as opposed to the banks where you can transfer between the accounts. Okay? So far, makes sense? So, this again goes back to the. So now the question becomes, why do good things happen to bad people? Or vice versa. Why do bad things are happening to you? Why? Anybody can explain? if you're in the field of agriculture, this is what farmers use. They call them the silos. So every year they get a new crop. What do? They process all the crop. And then every time they need to sell or they need to use, where do they get it from? From the bottom. Now imagine for 10 years, these silos are able to keep 10 years worth. And then we thought, wow, we got the best, whatever. Wheat, rice, whatever you want to call them, grains, put them at the top. And then you started taking from the bottom. And then all that very, very bad stuff is coming. Unfortunately, 10 years ago, us to experience what seems to be bad things when we are doing good things. Now, the question is, what we do now, it's going to come back. Now, the question is good karma better or the bad karma better? Obviously, everybody will say good karma. It's like your chain, no matter what. Only thing is, one is a golden cufflink, golden cuffs, we're only going to keep you chained. So, both are bad. Now, how do we then, what is the right thing? I can only know either good thing or bad thing. So, this is where the Bhakti process is important. It establishes the premise that all this karma is only happening when we are in this realm of the material existence. I know it's a phrase that some of you might not understand or accept fully. But as long as we are here, we are dealing with the karma. But if we understand our true identity as the soul, of that life energy, I mean, you can kind of practically think also. When my father passed away, in that statement itself, I'm saying something. My father passed away, but I saw his body there. But something passed away from that body. And that's what we're talking about, is the identity, the soul, the life energy. Even though the body was there, he's not my father anymore. My father passed away. No matter what culture you take, which country you go to, it's the same statement they'll say. So that identity of ours is what we need to latch on to. So don't worry about these temporary identities. And so it's always binding no matter what. So we have to not just think about doing just good karma or bad karma. First of all, we don't want any reactions for us. So we need to do something called akarma. Means actions that do not give us reactions. Then we are getting to what we call a clean slate. Now, if you think about it, right now the scriptures talk about this, all the dots. We can see somewhat, hey, yesterday I scolded that person, today he came back with another bag to hit me. So a little bit of correlation is there. Nicely, and then they're suddenly behaving differently. So, this whole, it's like you don't know where it got started. Forest fires, like recently we had LA forest fires. They couldn't figure out where it got started. So, but then the only way to really stop the forest fire, even the humans, in this case, with all the power that we had, we couldn't stop it. Totally exhausted pretty much. And the best way to naturally exhaust is to get something from the higher dimension. In this case, it's the rain. It's the same thing for us. How do we burn this or stop this fire of karma? You can put bondage. Very simple action, very simple principle. And that's what we are doing here. That when we just chanted all of that, immerse yourself into that. And that activity is actually a karma. Now you might say, but I still need to go work and keep doing forever. The good news is, you don't have to be doing every second of your life in this. But if you develop awareness, you could be doing it every second of your life. That means you start to develop awareness that you are not the body, you are not this actions. You don't want to be entangled. So you zone into the higher dimension. So if you see here, what we just did, karma for half an hour, it actually is doing what we call the erasing of all our past karmas. In the scriptures it is said, Sarva dharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam vraja. So what we just did, it not only helped in that half an hour, but it will help throughout our life. And imagine you do that on a regular basis. That means when you do your duty, without expecting something like, how do I manipulate the next company, then everybody recognizes, not only the people, but also the divinity recognizes that, and then you are going to get the first result. In the same way here, what Bhakti Yoga is saying is, don't think about your own sense gratification. You start thinking about dimension. Now you might ask, how does this work? So if you see here, this is the postman. Again, nicely AI generated picture. Now, no matter what, the karma is going to come to you. Easy to do. It's not hard. The best part of this path is, that's my daughter. That's my daughter. I didn't detach from her. I'm still caring for her. So the best part of the Bhakti Yoga is, you do everything you do, what you need to do, but dovetail everything to a higher cause. Why? Because this whole life is temporary. So if it is temporary, why try to keep the temporary as permanent? Doesn't make sense, right? So convert everything temporary to the permanent. Permanent. It's very simple. If you do it for a higher purpose, it's very simple. If you do it for a higher purpose, higher cause, taking care of your family is your duty, and you do it where they also develop the same consciousness, you are the consciousness, then suddenly your actions have no more reactions, and then you are now converting everything that you are doing temporary to a permanent asset. And that is what is the principle here. So you don't need to detach, you still go to your job, you still take care of your family, you still do whatever dishes you need to do at home. But now your consciousness is no longer about, I have to do these dishes. No, you are doing the dishes because by doing the dishes, you are going to serve your family, who is now going to also work for the higher purpose. Now you are helping more people to reach the higher purpose. Why are some of these people volunteering here? Nobody is paying them. Because it's the way that they are giving back. Makes sense? So it's very simple principle, it's called dovetailing. So you do what you do, but dovetail to a higher purpose. And then if you are clear about the purpose, then automatically certain actions you will only drop. Because those are not aligned to the purpose. You will automatically get rid of the unwanted activities. So that is where the wisdom automatically keeps coming in. Just keep the higher purpose in your consciousness and then keep doing what you're doing. And then the wisdom will come in, wherein you will know what to give up at what time. Any other questions, comments? Yes.
So to break the chain of karma, even if you have a lot from past lives, it's possible to achieve this in one life? Or
Absolutely. You know, in our parampara, the same question was asked to our acharya. We call it the guru who takes the same message, and then so some people asked him, it's like, I seem to have a lot of bad karma, like, how many lifetimes will it take? 1 minute. That's split second mistake. Because we can make that choice is ours. From this moment onwards, we can all be putting always the higher purpose as opposed to our greed, our hankering, our desires, our sense gratification aside, and then put the higher purpose. Because we don't belong to this place, frankly. So while we are here, use that time wisely to be happy, to spread happiness, and to achieve a higher value. So that's the purpose. Yes.
Are there specific things you need to chant, and then how do you learn about it?
Good question. So now, in fact, the next mantra, we typically we have this one mantra called Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare, which he's going to sing next. That's called Mahamantra, the great mantra. See, all mantras have a purpose. And you need to chant certain mantras with certain consciousness, certain preparation is needed, certain qualification is needed. But this one mantra is bona fide where anybody can chant, anytime, anywhere. It's a great mantra. And that will give you the highest potence. And particularly, see, we're all so busy. If I asked you to take 2 hours and then, go to a forest and then sit on a deer skin and then meditate, we don't even have forest nearby. We have concrete jungle. So in this age, the simplest thing is to chant. So you will hear that mantra. You can note that down and then keep doing it. And then we have some associated with, we call it beats sometimes. It's a counter. Because what are we doing? It's the mind we're transcending. We are trying to transcend. Mind is the one, it has been said, the best trained mind is your best friend. A trained mind is your best friend. An untrained mind is your worst enemy. We're trying to train. Just like you go to the exercise, gym. Every day you exercise. Can I get muscles if I just do once in 6 months? You'll be like me. But on the other hand, if you want to get, six pack and whatnot, then you have to go every day. Unfortunately, that is the process. It's the same thing here also. If you really want to raise higher consciousness, you have to do it every day. But it's a fun thing actually. Once you get taste of it, it's fun. So, thank you very much.
So the next mantra we are going to be doing, as prefaced by my father, is the Hare Krishna mantra after me. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. It's very simple. 16 words. Only 3 unique words. And it's Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Again. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Here. Thank you so much for our musicians today. Let's give them a Before we go for dinner, I just have a couple of announcements of other events happening next week, this week and next week. And then when we go to dinner, we use this door and go around. So, did you organize? So now every Saturday we are being grateful for one of our volunteers, and then the volunteer this week that we're gonna say thank you, it's Dana. She's here today. Thank you, So if you'd like to know more, to connect, you can scan the QR code. There is like this WhatsApp group that we post our events. So we have some online meetings every week. Now we just started a couple weeks ago a book club. So for people who was asking for questions about how to know more, to learn more, and we have some books here too. So it's a way to connect. So our next event, usually we have this event every Saturday. So you have another one, Saturday Kirtan Soulfest next weekend. Would like to join. Also, you can go to the next one. We'll be having this workshop with Braja Bihari on Saturday also, next Saturday at 3 p.m. So then it will be before the Kirtan, so then you can join just for the journaling workshop with him, or also come and stay for the Soulfest after too. And on June 21st at 9 a.m. it's the International Yoga Day, and we'll be having this event in person, yoga in the park, and then it'll be at Redmond Park. It'll be super nice event. We're hoping for good weather for that. And also on June 27, we have this self-care lab. And we're gonna learn how to make lip balm based on the principles and recipes of Ayurveda. So everyone invited to that too. And on June 28, we have this special Kirtan with Amala Kirtan. He's a well-known musician. He plays in several events around the world. Kirtan, so then we'll be really special also. So thank you very much, and hope we'll see you guys again soon. The dinner. going to be served in a couple of minutes. You can just organize it here, and then we can form a line for this summer.